Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another special episode of Indian of the Year 2024, where on one big platform, we honor the biggest contributors in various fields like entertainment, sports, climate change, business, and much more. It indeed is that time of the year again, and over the next few minutes, we will be discussing two broad categories in the field of climate and social change, both of which are integral to nation building. While speaking of 2024, it's been another year dominated by extreme weather, with climate change fueling an alarming rise in environmental concerns in the country. So let's talk about those taking serious steps in tackling these challenges. This year has seen several climate warriors rise to the occasion to expand their works not just at an individual but community level. Joining me to take this conversation forward are Vimlendu Jha, environmentalist himself, along with Abhinash Mohanty, Sector Head Climate Change and Sustainability at IPE Global. But before we go across to both our experts, let's begin with our nomination straight away. Our first nominee in the Climate Warriors category, on your screens, viewers, this is Vinisha Uma Shankar. She, in fact, has proven that innovation does not see age. You're never too young to innovate and help the environment through the same. Her powered ironing cart has proven to be a clean alternative to the charcoal-powered street irons that press clothes and have in turn helped save several vendors from lung diseases caused by charcoal smoke. Next up, the next nominee in this category is Hina Saifi. The teenager from Uttar Pradesh has been mobilizing local communities to tackle air pollution through public meetings, through pamphlets, chopals, door-to-door activities and surveys in Meerut since 2018. The entire region has been covered by this young lady. Up next is Soumya Ranjan Biswal. He's been earning praises for popularizing mangrove conservation in Odisha for 11 years now, planting 1.2 lakh saplings and conserving olive ridley turtle breeding site and also wetlands. So that's the young champion as the third big nominee. Going across to our next nominee in this category, this is Chami Murmu. She comes from one of the most backward districts of the state of Jharkhand and has mobilized hundreds of women in the area, in the region, for planting more than 28 lakh trees. This across 500 villages in the area. And our last nominee in this category of climate warriors is Kriti Tula. She's a Delhi-based fashion designer who creates garments from fabric waste using 100% reusable and recycled materials under her fashion label, Doodlage. So that's the category and the nominees all on your screens. We're going to be taking this conversation forward with our experts who continue to stay on with us. Abhinash, I want to first up come to you because, while we're talking about these young minds trying to bring about a change, this is an issue at the core of everyone's hearts. Going into 2025, everybody is really wondering what the next big innovations are going to be like. But what's your first assessment of the names that you've just seen?
Well, these names that have been put out are indeed climate warriors because they are translating climate action on ground, and they are trying to nudge or mainstream climate actions at community levels without any support from any of the large scale funding or philanthropic support or so on and so forth. So these are some of the issues, problems which have been identified by the youth, and then some sort of innovations have been taken forward one after the other in terms of solving air pollution problem to awareing or making communities aware more and more to kind of generating sustainable clothing. And going forward, these innovations have got huge potential in scaling up and solving some of the larger extreme events that we are talking of, whether it is extreme heat events, air pollution issue across Delhi NCR and across the northern belt, or some of the coastal regions like Odisha, Maharashtra, where you will find a lot of these mangrove conservations are leading to it. So all of these nominations and the great work these people are doing are commendable because these are scalable, these are hyper local in terms of mainstreaming them, and more importantly, these are mobilizing youths, which is kind of the real backbone. So this nomination and this frame that you have just put it out there, kids win. It looks very hopeful.
Oh, very
On a
hopeful,
climate
and
conversation, you'll
surely
always
and surely are going to be a bright future indeed for our country. Vimlendu, if I could come to you next, you know, if we broadly try and look at it with a perspective of how they're taking their individual ambitions to a community level. We have Hina Saifi, again, early 20s from a backward village in Uttar Pradesh, but she understood the lack of education and how it translated into other issues, how important education was. So she's very sincerely following on that. Soumya, once again, another such name, he's taken it to the whole community. Miss Murmu, she, for instance, has ensured that it's not just environmental concerns that are addressed, but women are also empowered. So how do you look at that band?
I think the most remarkable thing for me is that the fact that out of 5 names that you actually have, there are 4 women in that list. Yeah. So the fact that women are actually leading this entire climate change space, also because women are the most affected by climate change. So when we talk about environmental impact, they are the ones who actually face the brunt, the most beat of air pollution or of any disaster or of migration or of poverty, all of that is induced because of climate change. So it's very, very glad to really see 4 women in that list of 5 successful or potential Indian of the Year list that you have. And also very, very interestingly, as in these 5 names, most of them are actually very, very young. Of course, as in I'm not talking about the lady from Jharkhand. Of course, she's young in her spirit and the kind of work that she's doing. She's doing youthful work in terms of planting thousands and lakhs of trees that she's done in remote areas of Jharkhand. But otherwise, just if age is what I mean by young, the fact that there are women and there are young people taking initiatives that are, some of it might sound fairly simple. Look at what Vinisha is doing, as it's about solving one problem at a time. And similarly, what Kriti is doing, one fabric at a time. So, a lot of times what happens is that people like us get overwhelmed by these mega problems of the glacier melting and the end day is going to come, and therefore we really get we're not able to find solutions. We complain a lot, and we of course ask for solutions. And here we are, where all these 5 individuals, 4 of them girls, most of them young, are looking for tangible solution for their local problems, and not just local in the sense at the end of the day, when olive ridley turtles are actually saved or their habitat is saved, the impact is not in that beach or that coastland only. The impact is huge. So there's a lot of ecological work and large scale work, as small and tiny these might sound. So fabulous selection of people, and I wish if I had to give an award, I would give it to all 5 of them.
That's really kind of you, Avinash. And all of us are thinking the same, because like I said, most of them starting at a very young age. Vinisha is one, Soumya is one, Kriti as well. Right after her graduation is when she decided that it's, Vibledu was also pointing out, every fabric counts. And more than the production, it was actually about not just production, how do you manage the waste? And she's extensively spoken about all of that in her candid conversations too. But what do you think, when all of these names flash right in front of us, what do you think should be the barometer to really make that judgment, to take that call? What is it that, means the most for you as a climate warrior when you're looking for one?
So that's a tough question to answer, actually. And Bimlendu has already given it to all 5.
I mean, is it the magnitude? Is it the intent? Is it the level at which they've been able to take their work? What is it that makes the cut for you?
It's actually a combination of all of them, right? And then more importantly, you need to acknowledge the fact that these are homegrown issues for which we never paid for or signed off for as a country. But we are facing the brunt of it. And these young folks are kind of stepping up one stone after the other in terms of coming up with those innovations. Innovations which are democratized, innovations which are more or less scalable, innovations that is also mobilizing communities. Now, out of these, I think one of the biggest parameter, and all of these innovations are trying to break that zinc. But one of the critical things when it comes to climate conversations, it is always jargons. These people are really trying to break that jargon, de-jargonize them, and making it more democratized. And we need to look at how much of these innovations that we are talking of, or the solutions that these warriors have put out, are kind of accessible, affordable, and available to the larger masses? Or is it just going to be another innovation which is only for classes, not masses? That's where, because the problem that we are talking of is a massive problem. Um, Indeed, there is an opportunity for all of them, but my key takeaways or my key barometer would be availability, accessibility, and affordability of these innovations, scaling them beyond these AAAs.
Oh, absolutely. And Vimlendu, if we talk about each of these people, for instance, apart from, let's say, Kriti, who had that kind of exposure that she, wanted to right away take that deep dive and really wanted to bring about a change, and she's used it to her best potential. But for the rest of them, apart from perhaps Venetia as well, so many of them have, in a sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, turned their disadvantage or everything that they did not have access to a huge advantage, actually becoming role models for the next generation.
We need to understand that not everything, any kind of change, not necessarily happens after watching a documentary or a documentary like Inconvenient Truth. I'm very, very sure if Ms. Murmu, when she thought of doing this, it wasn't for an award, this one or the other that she got from the president, or after watching a fancy documentary on a fancy news channel or otherwise. It's the calling that they have. It's the purpose that they have. And also, so from looking at what Soumya is doing in the coastal area, where he actually saw the impact or the damage that perhaps some of his action or the action of the community or overall community was having on the ecosystem. So, we're talking sometimes about how education enables us to understand the linkage between issues and why we need to all act on climate change immediately. But here we are, as an interestingly, there are people who otherwise should be more worried about their career and their livelihood and their university and so forth. But they have actually taken that extra step, not looking at their private well-being alone, but looking at finding a solution for the community and with innovation, and something which is so alarming, because right now, by the way, it is not academic anymore, and it's not about virtue of being a climate warrior or the academics of being a climate warrior. It is here and now and affecting each one of us. You and I are reading 450
So last 30 seconds before we
today.
move on to the next big category, Vimlendu, 5 seconds to the both of you all. One climate warrior if you were to pick. We'll start with Avinash. Avinash.
I will go with Soumyaranjan Biswal, because what he's trying to do is largely restoring the landscapes. B, he's mobilizing communities. C, he's also going to generate a lot of carbon credits. So in a way, those communities can become self-sustainable in a way. And the most bigger benefit out of his innovation or out of his action is going to mitigate the risk, the impact of risk. The cyclones can be mitigated, the floods can be mitigated, because mangroves and other landscapes act as shock absorbers. So for me, it would be Soumyaranjan Biswal.
Okay, great. Vimlendu.
Very, very difficult question. This is like an IIT question that you've asked me.
Yeah, 5 seconds quickly.
Yeah. So I think everyone gives award to big heroes, big 1 lakh trees and 10 lakh trees and 10,000 hectares. I want to really go for Venetia. Simple, innovative, one problem at a time, one lung at a time is what she's fixing. So I would go with her. And indeed, all 5 of them are rock stars in that sense.
Very well said. One lung at a time, and realizing that at the age of 14 is something that really needs to be credited. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll come back to you in just a bit.